And here we are, we're ready for another 7 minutes on ITSPmagazine with a new short brand story. And I'm thrilled to have Shreesh Bhattarai on with me from A-LIGN. Good
Thanks
to have
for having
you.
me, Sean. Yeah.
And A-LIGN is all about helping organizations throughout their compliance journey, which we're going to talk about what that looks like today. Maybe if you can just start off with an overview of who A-LIGN is and what services you offer.
Sure, yeah. So we're a cybersecurity company that we specialize in audits across all major frameworks, SOC, ISO, PCI, you name it, we do it. We're also proud to be one of the highest volume HITRUST assessor firms. So, which means that we get a front row seat in recognizing and understanding people's organization's compliance roadmap and where they start, where they finish, what kind of risk profiles that they have. So we have that ability to look at.
And you're all about HITRUST. That's your role.
Yeah, that's what I do is run the HITRUST team, and we have we do a lot of assessments every year, and that's it's common for organizations to start out their compliance journey with a SOC 2 attestation and an ISO 27001 certification. But once they've established that foundation, the question that every CISO or senior leadership in an organization should be asking is, well, what's next? Because Sean, you and I know compliance is not a one-stop destination. Right. There's no finality to the process. It's an ongoing journey. And the journey entails continuously strengthening the security posture of the organization, especially in today's rapidly changing cyber threat landscape. And so the question becomes, well, is there a framework that exists that is extremely robust, extremely scalable? It's a certification, not an attestation. And most importantly, it uses this maturity model that ensures that your security roadmap does not stay stagnant. It is constantly evolving and dynamic. And the answer to that question is yes, a framework that does exist, and it's called the HITRUST CSF. And within the HITRUST CSF, you have different tiers of assessments. You have the R2 assessment, which is the highest tier, which you have the I1 assessment, which is the middle tier. And then you have the E1 assessment, which is the lower foundational tier. And it has never been easier for organizations to tag on that comprehensive of a framework into their existing portfolio of a SOC 2 and an ISO 27001.
So talk to me about getting started, because I think the success, certainly with the SOC 2 and 27001, is rooted in that initial entry of getting started, which is the hardest part for a lot of organizations. But at some point you have those two and probably other things, which is where HITRUST comes in to kind of bring them all together and raise the bar some. So talk to me a little about the E1 and how that helps.
Yeah, so I think what HITRUST has done tremendously over the last few years is that it has really recognized the need of having different tiers of assessments within the market. And so can we provide a smaller version of the HITRUST, still entailing the robustness of the framework, but the E1 assessment being on the lower side of being able to afford, and it has tremendous efficiencies to tag on to the ISO and the SOC. SOC reports and ISO 27001 certifications, those are great broad overview to start your compliance program. What HITRUST does differently is that it is extremely prescriptive in nature. And so with a static 44 requirements within the E1 assessment, it really focuses on your data security, which is never been, it requires that level of security because you are dealing with patient data, you're dealing with other sensitive data. So that's where the value lies, is its comprehensive nature.
And how does the engagement with A-LIGN and your team perhaps change the way organizations look at their programs, not just from a tick the box perspective, but actually implementing controls in a meaningful way?
Yeah, so after they have some level of foundation built with a SOC 2 and an ISO, it has become extremely easier to tag onto that E1 assessment to the compliance portfolio. So it's never only a checkbox. There are a lot of synergies that are gained. We can go down the details in terms of what those are, but if you've done a SOC 2, if you've done an ISO certification, tagging on an E1, it's half the work is already done. And the other half, speaks to the level of robustness that E1 has. So whether that's having to provide more population and samples, things like that, the level of robustness requires you to do that extra work, but you're half of the way there.
So who do you typically work with in terms of types of organizations? Are they small, medium business, larger organizations?
We don't discriminate. We have clients that are on the S market side. We have medium-sized businesses, and we have enterprise. So smaller ones tend to go with the E1 assessment and then kind of build their way up as their risk profiles change. And the enterprises they're like, yeah, let's go. Let's do the R2 right off the bat.
And when you're working with them, what are some of the challenges that you help them overcome?
Well, the first is the organizational buy-in. I think there's a lot of educational lapse in terms of recognizing, well, we've built this great business, but then compliance kind of gets put on the side. It's on the back burner. It's not the priority. And so to try to get that level of education up at the senior leadership level is our main challenge. Once you get there, once they recognize that, yes, compliance is extremely necessary, especially when the bad actors are in abundance. Once we get that message, then everything kind of flows well from there.
And in terms of the outcomes that you're seeing with your clients, so there's getting started, but then there's the ongoing journey. Companies grow, they acquire other companies.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit.
100%. So I look at the ingestion of the HITRUST assessment in twofold. One is obviously the security fold, and I've articulated why that is very important. The other pillar is the ROI pillar, because most of the companies that we're working with, they are being backed by private equity firms. They're being backed by VC firms. And we all know what is that they want. They want great return on their investment. And there are ample data that demonstrates that once you've tagged on an E1 certification, I1, R2, the HITRUST CSF framework in general, it gives you an immense advantage in securing that next deal, because you're going to put yourself ahead of your competitors. And so the ROI piece to the puzzle is extremely great.
Perfect. Well, Shreesh, thanks for sharing this story about A-LIGN with me, and that's 7 minutes.
Thanks, John.
Here on ITSP Magazine.